Give it a few minutes. Yeah, let's give it a few minutes. Now, I didn't know what's in the background. I try. I try, but it just so happened that I had to run into the store for a moment today, and so I decided to utilize this parking lot. And it's gloomy out anyhow, so cloudy, what have you. Um, let those notifications go out. I got y'all. I see y'all on Patreon. I'm gonna get to you. I'm gonna get to you. I like that one about sneakers, squeakers. I got you. I got you. Yeah. Yeah. For those who are ready to accept that we've been lied to since birth about a lot of things, you can unlock exclusive content for as little as $5 a month. Remember, everything that goes into this ministry goes right back into our growing community of spiritual warriors for Christ at CHA, Consulting for Heightened Awareness. Let me go ahead and do, I want to make sure that everything is on the up and up here, because I didn't go through StreamYard. So I'm going to do the usual check while those notifications are going out. And I got you there. Okay. Yep. I got you. I got you. Okay. Let me go ahead. There we go. And I can monitor. I can monitor the chat on the other device right here. If y'all have any questions, but we're going to talk about narcissistic parents and caregiving, because let's face it, chosen one. Those of us who had at least one parent who was narcissistic, a lot of us ended up going through our parent getting a divorce. Not all of us, but now if you had both parents who were narcissists, the divorce would not, well, maybe not. But I know in my circumstance, because my biological dad was not, but the mother is a Jezebel, eventually they split because my dad went through rehab and got sober. So they could start he started to see her for what she was. I know that's what happened. He don't have to tell me. But anyhow, so we had at least one that we grew up with. We didn't know. That's right. We didn't know that we had a narcissistic parent. But I know that, some would say that the divorce or them separating is what caused me to have to grow up a little bit faster than I should have had to. Meaning learning how to, nothing wrong with learning how to do your own hair and cooking and things like that, but at a very young age, I was doing my own hair and macaroni and cheese by the time I was 8 years old anyway. But once they split and I go to live with the mother and I'm just a freshman in high school, I had to go get a job because I was growing. I needed to get clothes, right? So the mother, she went back to college. Okay, cool beans. I wasn't going to, yeah, awesome. So I went to work with a permit at age 15, waiting tables. Yeah, on the weekends and then, of course, after school. But I did a lot more, okay? I did a lot more adulting. We don't like that term, chosen one, I know. But I did at age 13, 14, 15. Because 15 is when I had to get the work permit. And so at age 15, I was doing a lot of things. Cooking my own food, cooking my own dinners. Yeah, we were forced to grow up a little faster than we should have been. But I'm not complaining. I'm actually quite grateful. But because the mother was a narcissist, I didn't know she was a Jezebel until getting into God's reality. But I wanted to talk about this because I know that some of you have reached out and said, I know, right? We don't like that term, do we? It's really stupid. Adulting. What in the world is that? But the reason I wanted to get on here is to address, this is going to be something I don't know if you would call this a coaching session, okay? But we're going to talk about this because it's true for many chosen ones who were forced to grow up faster than they should have had to because the caregiving from the narcissistic parent ended in many ways. Now, they still would provide a home and things like that, make sure we got to and from if we weren't driving yet for school or, what have you, things like that. But I'm talking about as far as caregiving, like really being there as the parent that they should have been. And I know that's very rude of the trees to drop those acorns in the middle of the live stream, right? I got you, Chris. I see y'all over there on Patreon. All right, like I said in the very beginning, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get to you. But I wanted to get on here and talk about that because narcissistic parents, they stop caregiving once the child becomes a certain age. Like once they feel, okay, once the narcissist feels that we as the child are old enough to be independent enough, then their caregiving stops. And, well, I mean, it does. And I have another example. And I think that's going to help a lot of you who may be having what's called mother issues, if you will. Yeah, those of you who are having mother issues. And I can tell you now that anybody who might be dropping off, have you noticed that again? Have you noticed that? I get close enough and they drop off because they're looking for, they're looking for circulation. They're looking to see if I am circulating. I'm circulating just fine. It's called healing. But yeah, we know who those are, don't we? Yeah, the Jezebel checking on their handiwork, or what they think is their handiwork. But anyhow, narcissistic parents, their type of caregiving, they have a different mindset, if you will. They have a different definition of caregiving. But one thing I noticed about them is that they will go out of their way to truly caregive based on the matrix and society's view of caregiving. For example, the Jezebel that gave birth to me, well, there was a neighbor who happened to become a friend of hers. Okay? And this is before I knew that she was a Jezebel and all of that. But the neighbor got diagnosed with something, and so the Jezebel that gave birth to me jumped into gear and became one of the neighbor's caregivers. Oh, yeah. Now, me, as the grown adult, having to stay there once again until I get back on my feet and figure things out, I would buy a rotisserie chicken from time to time if I didn't feel like cooking, but I wanted some meat already cooked. Rotisserie chicken, no problem. And there have been some moments where I forgot to put the leftovers in the fridge. Well, there were a couple of times that she would put it in the fridge for me because I'd go back to the room and I'd be working on something else. But I noticed that there towards the end, as she was, slightly before she ended up on her deathbed, she stopped doing that. So, in other words, and it didn't bother me, but she got tired of caregiving. Like, that in her mind, she thought that she was having to pick up after me. I wasn't asking nobody to put the little bit of rotisserie chicken, because they're not that big sometimes. And so that little bit in the fridge, the leftovers in the fridge, I wasn't asking anybody to do it for me. It's just, I go in the room, I start editing and uploading videos, and I'm busy, and I forgot about it. You know, and so in their mind, that was in their mind, and because they were narcissistic and, you know, whatever, but in their mind, they thought that was caregiving by putting it in the fridge for me. And then they got tired of doing it if I forget about it. But narcissistic parent, that's what they do. They get tired of caregiving for their own kids, but will go out of the way to caregive for someone else and not tire of it, as long as it's giving them the type of supply that they want. So when you think about narcissistic parents and their caregiving ability, it's going to run out. They've got them. It's just they're not going to employ their caregiving when their child reaches an age where they believe their child should be independent enough to do certain things that the narcissistic parent doesn't want to do anymore for their child. Think about it. So you do have the narcissistic parents who completely neglect their kids, and then you do have the narcissistic parents, like I know I did, at least the mother, the Jezebel that gave birth to me before she passed away, and had no problem up until I was a certain age. And when, right, so as long as I was able to cook my own food and do my own hair and get myself dressed, which was fine because I could. I'm just giving you all that as an example. That narcissistic parents, when they feel that they don't need to caregive for their child anymore, then they'll pretty much stop, because she might have been in college, but she definitely was out and about doing her partying thing a lot. Because I remember after I left Miami, and I went back home again, excuse me, I remember her coming in pretty smashed and then going back out on a date. And we were staying with one of my aunts at the time, who happened to be a Jezebel, by the way. But I remember telling my aunt, I said, oh my gosh. And I had just gotten off work bartending, go figure. And I said, I do not want to end up like her. I was talking about my mother. I said, I do not want to end up like that. And my aunt looked at me and said, you won't. And you know what? She's right. Because I'm not going to end up like that. I'm not letting myself end up like that. Even though the Jezebel that gave birth to me eventually stopped with all the bar hopping and party days and things like that, and found the step Jezebel that she settled down with, still, the caregiving aspect. It's funny though, because when I first came back from the ex-psycho roommate, and I was sorting through all this stuff and just trying to figure out what was going on, she was really surprised, ironically, at how self-reliant I can be and how self-reliant I am. Chosen ones, we are very self-reliant, but what she doesn't realize is the role that she played in that. See, she was hoping that when I came back, because remember, narcissistic parents will only see their children up to a certain age. They will not see their children who mature. They will not see the chosen one mature and grow and evolve. They won't see that version. Narcissistic parents will always see us as the child that they want to caregive for, once again, because of their whatever. So I know, because she knows what the ex-cycle put me through, but she was probably, and with the demon of assumption, she was assuming that I was going to need caregiving from her, like I once did as a child. And I didn't. I was able to sort through and replace what needed to be replaced, figure out how he was still tracking me, and then also figured out that he put spyware on her phone that was my phone. I had an undergrad, so the spyware was already there. But it just took us a little while to sort through all that. But I remember her sitting on the couch, and she was in complete awe. And the tone of voice caught my attention. And she was really genuinely, not really genuinely, but it seemed that way, but she was surprised that I was as self-reliant. She wasn't expecting that. Because that's what she said. She said, wow, she said, you are really very self-reliant. Yeah. Very independent. Chosen ones we are. Very independent. But she was operating in the past and was hoping that I would have some dependency on her. Well, the only thing I needed was a place to sleep and, cook and eat or whatever, but a place to stay until I figured stuff out, until I figured out what in the heck I was going to do next. Well, and then, about 4.5 years later, she passed away. So anyway, it was just really something though, but she was really surprised at how self-reliant I was or am. But not realizing that when I was 15, I had to get a job waiting tables, cook my own dinner, do my own hair, do a whole lot of basically my own caretaking, okay? Taking care of myself while she was in school and partying. So she forgets the role that she played in that. So that's the thing about narcissistic parents. They don't realize the role that they play in us as chosen ones becoming extremely independent and self-reliant. But also, now in God's reality, we are only 100% dependent on God and not on man. And so that's the thing with narcissistic parents. They don't. So let's go ahead and talk about that. Okay, since we are talking about narcissistic parents, I wanted to address this for those of you who may still be having some mother issues because your mother was a narcissist, and so you would like some help overcoming. So, our fellow warrior Chris is sharing that you're carrying the shame and burden of a abusive. Okay, I realize your mother was psychologically abusive. I remember your email. Now, as far as the details behind that, okay, what I'm going to tell you, okay, is it does take a toll on the mind because of the way that she was about that with you. But you got to also remember that tells you about her spiritual wickedness in high places. And you do know that that is not normal. That it's not. So we will address that. Unless you're comfortable enough putting it in the chat for others, we'll take that up separately. But I understand where you say she behaved like a wicked stepmother. When you think about the story of Cinderella, right? Yes, you can see the gas price. At least at this place. I know that's off topic alert. Come down a little. Okay. So see, there you go. I'm not surprised, Chris. So your mother made it very clear that she was only caregiving out of the demon of obligation. See, that's the big thing right there. Narcissistic parents, their type of caregiving, the way that they think about caregiving is that they're doing it because they feel obligated to, only because they had a kid. Okay, so, yeah, not a very good example. If you're talking about, no, my aunt was she's also a Jezebel, but a different flavor. And she did go through her days, but she wasn't as flamboyant as my mother was. Okay, she was not like flamboyant all over the place with it. There's the difference. But very much another Jezebel, just a different flavor. And so your mother would get angry about you being independent and not a complete train wreck. See, that's the other thing. Again, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with this. That the narcissistic parents, they get upset, they get angry when we become that independent and we are not a train wreck, and that we do problem solve, we figure things out, and we do become very self-reliant, because they don't realize that they pretty much indirectly forced us to do that. They did, because they stopped actually caregiving once we reached a certain age. And so when we became independent enough, or in their eyes, too independent, then that's when they get angry. Because then all of a sudden we don't need their help with anything. We're not asking their assistance. We're especially not asking for their opinion. And they can't stand it because, right, they want to be involved. They want to be involved in everything that they could possibly be involved in. But not in the way that a normal parent would want to be involved. A narcissistic parent only wants to be involved out of obligation, and then also for the, let's just say, maybe bragging right they think they have. And I understand that it is self-reliant, right, because we have to look after ourselves to a degree, absolutely. And so it is ironic, because they don't see the role that they played in it. Narcissistic parents will never see the role that they played in us becoming that self-reliant, us becoming that independent of others, because they don't realize that they indirectly forced us to have to do that. Okay, so, all right, cool. We got it. But I understand that there's a lot of things about our narcissistic mothers. And then for those of you with fathers, there's a lot to process, and it does take a while, and it can play on the psyche. A lot of things happen. We realize their spiritual wickedness in high places takes them on roads, and it causes them to say things that are very inappropriate to their children. And then other people's children too. Don't forget that there are some narcissistic parents out there that do that too. Oh yeah, they will hit on the neighbor's children and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, they will flirt with, well, the overt narcissist who typically will flirt with anything that will flirt back. And so, well, that's a good point too, because when the narcissistic parent gets angry about us being independent and self-reliant because they stopped caregiving at a certain point, well, yeah. Yeah. And because they could, right, because the narcissistic parent can't figure out how we are being that independent. They can't figure out, and so they do get angry because they don't know how we are figuring it out. So it's kind of like they decided to stop caregiving and didn't understand how it was that we would figure it out. That we figured out, okay, well, we got to take care of ourselves. They don't realize, right, they don't realize that we pay attention, and that for chosen ones, a lot of it comes naturally. You see, a lot of it comes naturally. That self-reliance and all that comes naturally to a chosen one. And that would be a big one right there, that the narcissistic parents, yeah, they're very jealous of their children, especially chosen ones who are self-reliant and independent, because they can't figure out how we're doing it. And they're jealous over the fact that we can do it because we have self-thinking ability. That's a big reason why right there. So you're correct about that, being more mature and responsible. And they're not things that she gave to you. No. See, being mature and responsible, those are given to us by God. Okay? That maturity and being responsible and outgrowing things that we're supposed to outgrow, even though some things we were forced to grow up faster about than others, okay, because of the narcissistic parent, and they forget the role they played in it, and they get angry because we do become self-reliant that way, and they do become even more jealous because those are not qualities that they have. So they're like, oh, I didn't give my kid those qualities. Where did they get those qualities from? Remember, a lot of times we were here, a narcissistic parent say, well, I don't know where they get that from. They must get that from the other parent. Right? Yeah, very common. Very common. Right. We are very self-care giving. Absolutely. This is why you hear me talk about self-care. And so I want to say thank you real quick to all of y'all. Whenever I have to take a break from coming on here and going live, we're in a season of some self-care that, well, it's funny because I've already gone through some of this. It's just I had to go and connect dots. My autonomic nervous system had to remind me of some things that it needs, because it's already healed from some of this stuff that we're self-caring right now. We've already been through all of it. It's just I had to remember when, and I had to remember with who, and I had to remember, okay, now what did we do to keep my ANF comfortable? So that kind of self-care, we just had to do that. And it takes a good bit of self-reflection. See, that's the other thing. Narcissistic parents don't have that ability to self-reflect. It takes, for us to be very independent and self-care type, okay, the self-caregiving type, it takes a very real and deep level of self-reflection. And chosen ones are the only ones who know how to do that, because we have to go very, very deep with the self-reflecting to remember, oh, this is how I got to self-care for this. Oh, it's just a minor sprain. Let me go get a ankle boot or whatever it is. It's those kinds of things that we have to do self-reflecting with, because whatever it is we go through in life, a lot of times, remember, the devil only has what used to work in the past. So it's going to be something that occurred that we've already healed from once or twice, that we just have to self-reflect and remember, okay, what did we do to keep our ANF comfortable then? How did she heal? He heal? You know, that kind of thing. So, and that's where we're at in this season right now. So thank you all for your continued patience and understanding as we do take breaks from going live from time to time. And again, like I said, that's why I encourage y'all to subscribe to this YouTube channel, because when we don't go live, I'm going to put it in this YouTube community tab. I'm going to do a regular post and let y'all know. And then also in the community tab on this channel is where I will also share updates and additional things, okay, going forward. But, you know, so I wanted to get on here and talk about narcissistic parent and caregiving, and then more that pertains to narcissistic parents, because they're very prevalent out here, and we all had at least one. And it takes a while to process their behaviors, and then we self-reflect and we start realizing, oh my gosh, our whole life. And we didn't know at the time that it was a red flag. We didn't know, oh, you know, so we go through that. And so it takes a while to process. And the psychological aspect of it, yeah, I know that, yeah, if we're not mature, well, exactly, we've got to be, it is wise to be responsible, mature, and independent, okay? And it does take a lot of courage. See, narcissists don't have the kind of courage it takes to go your own way. That's the thing. And we're not going our way either, though. We're going God's way. We got to remember that God guides our step. So it's not us who's going our way. It's God. It's God's way. And so thank y'all for hitting that thumbs up. It's a very, very, very important message. And I see that the sun is coming out, but that's okay. That's okay. I don't know how long it's going to be out because it's still cloudy. But, and it does. Being your own person and being very self-supportive. Oh, let me tell you. Absolutely. Well, yeah, parents who don't love their children will blame their children for existing. And for being, right, and blame their children for existing and being, and call them irrational. Well, it is irrational and callous of the parent, but that narcissistic parent will lash out and call their child names because, well, names that reflect themselves. And we want to be mindful of that, but yeah, a lot of them do that. Absolutely. Let me check and see if I need to move because I'm not liking that at all. So y'all bear with me because I can't, yeah, if I can't see the, get that sun off the dash. Yeah, because if I can't see there, I'm just going, there we go. Like I said, we don't have a problem moving when we got to move. That way I can at least see, I need to see the camera. So there, take you on a quick ride. All right. Okay, yeah. You could call it destructive criticism when the narcissistic parent do that. Absolutely. You can call it destructive. But I also want to tell y'all something, that the demon of criticism, there is no positivity in criticism. Think about the word ism. So there's no positive anything about that. Yeah. And there's nothing positive about that. But I could see where they would call it that. When a narcissistic parent is like just lashing out at their kid and calling their kid names and calling them, or blaming their children for existing and things like that. That's definitely not nice at all. We know that, but that's definitely abusive. And it will play on the psyche, especially if the narcissistic parent is telling their kid that over and over again. So, well, and that's very classic, okay, that narcissistic parents will do that too. They will look for arguments. That's very narcissistic. All narcissists do that. Want to try to start an argument. They always will try to do that. Narcissistic parents, absolutely. They need to have an argument. They need to have some sort of confrontation. Yeah, remember, they've got to have chaos and drama. They've got to have that. They've got to feed their adrenaline addiction somehow, and that's a big way they do it. Absolutely. And as we continue, chosen ones, to remain self-reliant and independent. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that classic narcissist will always do that. I mean, it's one of their favorite pastime, arguing. They love to argue. And I will tell you that, yeah, it gets old too. We're like, why do you want to? Now we know why. Now we know why. Narcissistic parents will always do that. Not just with others, but with their own kids too. Yeah. Narcissistic parents, I mean, they're narcissists. And so, of course, they're going to do to their children what they'll do to others. Even though you may not see it. But they'll put on that show in front of us like this all nicey nice. Now, if we're not around, though, they're going to treat another narcissist or whoever the same way. You betcha. You betcha. At some point, oh yeah, at some point, they're going to. Yep. Because they can't help themselves. And it is something to witness. Absolutely, it's something to witness when you watch the aging narcissists sit around a table and they are doing nothing but comparing health ailments or what have you, but then, just picking with one another, but they're really poking and prodding and don't even realize that it's very childish what they're doing. They don't realize that. What, the ex-psycho roommate? Oh, yeah! I was the live-in maid at his sister's vacation house. So, yeah, his sister and brother-in-law would come down, his niece and her husband and their kids. Oh, gosh. Oh, I got to see the whole narcissistic family in that one. Let me tell you. And when you talk about start argument, whoa, his niece was classic with needing all the attention, had to be the center of attention no matter what, could not understand, and threw a temper tantrum because I had already eaten dinner. I'm just a living maid, so I'm doing dishes, right? I'm doing the housework, but I got my earbuds in. I'm listening to a podcast. I'm not there to whatever, but she had a temper tantrum. Why can't everybody eat dinner at the same time? Yeah, very narcissistic. Very. And, yeah, it was very intriguing. But, yeah, I sure did. And then some of his cousins and, yeah. And, of course, they are always complaining. And that's the other thing. Great point. Narcissists cannot, right, they cannot stay grounded, centered, or calm. They can appear to. That's all. Remember, the devil's all about appearances. They can appear to be calm and grounded. They can appear to be patient, but they're not. Underneath it all, we start to see that. We start to see their jitteriness underneath all of that, that cool person persona, if you will. So we start to see that stuff, but they can't. They cannot help it. They've got the demon of impulse. Narcissists cannot help themselves. They will always act on impulse. They will always cause whatever chaos and drama wherever they go. They cannot handle. I will tell you, in the workplace especially too, we've seen it. Those of us in a toxic workplace, yeah, we've seen it. Things could be riding along smoothly, right? Everything going like it's supposed to. I'm going to use that pizza place as an example. All right? I mean, yeah, come in from the delivery. There's no delivery yet. Okay, so, for me to go back out yet. So I got to jump on the make line. All right, everything's running smooth, right? Only for about maybe 15 minutes. And then one of the narcissists has to screw something up to start some chaos. So, classic. They cannot handle things running smoothly as it's supposed to. They cannot handle it, but for so long. It really is something, but they really cannot. I think that when things are running smoothly and it promotes that peace and it's calm and it's like, all right, everything in order. You got to remember something. The devil is all about disorder. The devil is all about keeping things inconsistent. See, that's something that we, chosen ones, start to see more of out here in the matrix. The more aware we become, because we'll start to see the inconsistencies everywhere. Things don't add up. The math is not mathing. Just like on this YouTube channel. Right? Yeah. All right? The subscriber count, view count, all that. The math is just not mathing. We'll start to see the inconsistencies. We're starting to notice it more and more in everything. And so I'm like, okay, hold up a second. And we know the devil's all about disorder. And so the narcissists are on assignment from the devil. And so it makes sense that they can't handle anything that goes in order. You know, God is a God of order. God is a God of balance. But see, the devil's all about keeping things off balance, inconsistent, because that will keep people confused. That will keep people confused. It will keep people riled up. It will keep people off balance. It will keep people at each other's throats, causing all kinds of discord and that kind of stuff. So it makes sense that the narcissist would not be able to handle anything being grounded and calm and collected. Although they can give off the appearance of being such. I'm going to tell y'all this. They are really good at giving off that appearance. That's why I get on here from time to time and remind y'all, watch out for the subtleness of some of this stuff. When they're trying to instill fear, and they'll do it nice, they'll give off a calm persona and a calm tone, but watch what they're saying. Pay attention, okay? Because it could be some kind of fear-mongering message, but they'll do it, because they can appear as though they're not trying to instill fear. So some of them are very skilled at that, especially some Jezebels. So you want to be mindful of that, okay? That they've done it long enough and gotten away with it, and it worked many times over, that they have perfected that craft, if you will, to instill fear while looking calm, to not appear as though that's what they're doing. But they can't handle it. They cannot handle it. There you go. They can. They can appear. They can fake that for just a little while. They can fake being patient. When underneath it all, they're very impatient. They don't have any whatsoever. Yeah, it's amazing, but they really don't. They don't have any patience. But they can appear as though they do. And there you go. Yeah, off balance. Right. They don't want to see anything, because when things are running smoothly and in order, that's whole and togetherness. It's unity. Because remember in Mark 2 verse 17, Jesus said, those who are whole are not in need of a physician, but those who are sick. So when we are calm, collected, whole, because we have Jesus, chosen one, we have Jesus. So we are whole. We got it together. We are balanced. We get control of ourselves. Because we know that's the only thing we can control is ourselves. We can only control how we respond. And if we must, we don't have to respond to everything. No. And we stop reacting, you see. And that throws them off. They don't know what to do with that. Narcissists don't know what to do with that. Especially narcissistic parents who were able to get unexpected reaction out of us once before. But then we catch on to the fact that's what they're looking for, and we stop giving it to them. Yeah, even the narcissistic parent, it baffles them too. And not surprising, but we do learn to stop reacting. Stop giving them the emotional supply they seek. Because that's what keeps them going. You see? Is getting those negative emotional reaction. Getting the adrenaline rushes. That's what keeps them going. And so, it makes sense. The devil's all about upheaval, right? All about just destroying whatever he possibly can. So, narcissists naturally would do the same. They are highly destructive. And I want to go ahead and share with you all something that God revealed to me. That I used to think that I had to get a new pair of sneakers like every so often because I'm an avid walker. No, I don't. You don't. It's all in what you think. As long as they still fit and they are still supporting your feet, you good. You good. But the world, well, yeah, because the devil needs to be in your pocketbook as much as possible, right? So, of course, we got to unlearn a lot of lies. That's like, okay, and I ain't trying to be fresh here or nothing, but y'all, we're grown adults here. But I have learned also that to work out, to weight train, to work out, or train like an athlete. There you go. Yeah, you know, when I say work out, I'm talking about training like an athlete. Let's say you're weight training, right? You're doing that weight training. Ladies, you can wear a regular bra, okay? You don't need a sports bra. I'm just saying. Watch where you spend your money on stuff. I learned that. I was like, oh, yeah, because see, I was all in on that. I'm going to buy this sport, this sport, that. And then I realized a lot of your sports bras are compression bras. Why do I want to compress an area that I want to circulate? To build muscle. Make that make sense. Make it make sense. Anywho. So, that's why I said, ladies, just use your discretion, okay, and discernment. But a comfortable, regular comfortable bra will be fine for you to weight train in. You ain't got to, never mind. And it's all about preference too, but just think about circulation. Because if you are weight training to build muscle, you need to get oxygen to the muscle. And thank you, Chris. Coming from a guy, I'm a man. Thank you. I'm impressed. But yes, aren't all bras supportive? There you go. There you go. But you want to make sure you can get oxygen to the muscles, especially if you're trying to tone and strengthen and build them, right? All right, there you go. That's the point of them. Exactly. Thank you. I know. Well, see, that's what I'm saying. If you are getting a pair of walking or running sneakers that are, yeah, they don't have to be that expensive, but if you get yourself a good pair, you can get a good year or so out of them. Oh, yes. And be regular at exercising. Yes, you can. If chosen one, we're not hard on our thing. Remember, I've talked about this before. This is the other thing that bothers narcissists to no end, is how in the world we, as chosen ones, by the way, can have a set of socks that we bought. Oh, gosh, 7 years ago, and they still be together and not falling apart? Because chosen ones, we're not hard on our stuff. That's why. How is it that we can have a pair of shorts that we bought maybe 10 years ago and still wear them? And they're still in shape and in one piece. Because we're not hard on our thing. That's why. Chosen ones are not destructive. We're not destructive of our things. So we're able to wear certain things a lot longer. That's the abundance. Everlasting, long-lasting. You know how God says everlasting life with God. Everlasting, long-lasting. Longevity. We can have an outfit that we bought 15 years ago. As long as we are still the same size and things like that, we're staying in shape. We still fit that outfit and we wear it. Even if it's, we bought it 15 years ago, but it's in great shape. You wouldn't know it's 15 years old. Because chosen ones know how to take care of their stuff. Chosen ones are not destructive with their stuff. That's it. That's a big part of the abundance right there. So yeah, and then there you go. Thank you for pointing that out. We were talking about muscle toning and stuff. That you do have to rest and recovery for muscle growth. Definitely. That's why I've said for some, I've heard some say 2 days on, 1 day off, or 3 days on, 1 day off, or every other day. It just really depends on your goals. You know what I'm saying? It really depends on your goals. What are you trying to do? How much are you trying to build? How much muscle are you trying to grow? I mean, and then also, what's your diet like? I mean, you got to have your proteins and things like that. So, yeah. And then talk about as far as running shoes and things like that. Well, yeah, big name, right? The big name brand are expensive, and they claim there's a lot of research that goes into them, like a science behind a good running shoe. You know what? I don't know. All I know is I do have a preference. My feet have a preference. So I've been a Skechers girl for many years. So yeah, maybe one day they'll sponsor us, sponsor this ministry, because I'm a Skechers girl when it comes to shoes, my sneakers for working out and stuff. And but I don't know. I don't know. It could be, science. There could be some science behind that. But I think it's also mindset too. I think it's a lot of mindset. Where, I mean, you know your training goals, your workout goals, your muscle building goals. You know what it is you want. So that's your foot. You know your level of comfort when you are engaging in a certain activity. Like I'm a speed walker. So I know the shoe and my foot knows what it likes for that particular activity. Plus the same sneakers for my training. I mean, yeah, I think our feet just know. But you're right. The reason chosen ones are able to maintain their items and belonging longer in that way is because we have a level of appreciation for the thing that we worked hard to get, that we worked for to obtain. And a lot of the narcissists, they're abusive of not just other people, but of their things as well, because they're not as appreciative. A lot of the stuff that they get is given to them, right? So of course, not going to appreciate it as much. There is a big difference between bodybuilding and toning up. Absolutely. So you really have to think about all your different, the different goals. What is your goal? Toning and strengthening, or bodybuilding, or just simply training to stay strong and fit. What are the goals, right? So all kinds of things that go into that. And so there's a little bit of your and more that we're talking about there at the back. And I see, there is an A, by the way, where I am located, actually in Orlando. I live outside of Orlando. But when you go into Orlando, there is a New Balance factory store. I go by it. Actually, it's considered Celebration, I think. If I'm thinking right. And that shopping plaza on the way to I-4. Yep, it's, right, it's next door to where I'm at, but it's considered Celebration, but right there within Orlando, the area. But there is you got your Nike factory, you have other things, and then a couple of Skechers stores, and then there's a New Balance factory store here. So I know I'm familiar with that. Interstate. The I-4, right, the I-4, no pun intended, but for the highway to have an I here in the U.S., for those who may not know, it stands for interstate. Yeah, the I stands for interstate, so it's Interstate 4, but I-4. Yeah. And then you also, right, you have I-85 in North Carolina and other states. So it would be Interstate 85, I-95. So there you go. But you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. And I'm always glad to be of assistance there. But yeah, that concludes this up. And you have M-way for motorway. Oh, well, that works. M-way, motorway, and motorway in the UK. Thank you. See, we all learned something new today. That in the United States, and I don't know about anywhere else, but I for a highway stand for interstate, and then SR for state route, and then in the UK you have M-way for motorway. Nice. Thank you. That's interesting. But it makes sense though. Right, freeway, motorway. Same thing. There you go. Or highway. There you go. I've heard people call it the highway. So there you are, everybody. That wraps up this. Let's just chat, by the way. I did not get to the formalities, but we jumped right into it. Those of you who came in late, you will catch a lot about narcissistic parents on the replay there for the good half hour, 40 minutes or so of this. And then we dive into some and more. We're talking about some, shoes and some truths behind how often you really need to replace walking shoes or running shoes. Just a lot of factors to go into that. But I learned as a speed walker that I do not need to replace them as often as the Matrix wanted me to think I needed to replace them. Because I had one pair that I just got rid of. I've been walking in that pair for over a year. So anyhow, there you go. All right, everybody, you are very welcome. Thank you for the chat as well. All right, and the questions and all of that. And I know you all can catch this on the replay when you leave your comments. I'll get to those as soon as I see them. Sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your continued support. Till next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father. And you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.